I now have a new item that's going to help me go on adventures, and it's right here, my very first electric bike. This is known as the Hiboy P6 Fat Tire e-bike, and in this video, I'm going to tell you all about it. Welcome back. So earlier this year, I made a video debuting my new electric scooters. And in that video, I made some claims as to why I didn't want to own an e-bike. But recently, Hiboy reached out to me and said, hey, we have an e-bike. Would you like to try it out? And I've seen that they become increasingly popular. So I said, why not? Let's see what all the hype is all about. So they sent me the P6. This is a Fat Tire e-bike. And by the end of this video, we'll see if my thoughts have changed about owning an e-bike. So when this bike was sent to me, it did come in a cardboard box that was really thick, really well put together. It was actually really difficult to open up because it was really well secured and fastened. It took me a good amount of effort and some tools to just get the box open itself. Upon opening the box, there was a small box inside. Inside there, you will find your instruction manual, user manual, the 2-amp charger, pedals, multi-tool, some hardware, and keys. And I'll get a little bit later on as to what the keys are for. When you pull the bike out, it is securely wrapped up with some foam protective padding, and a lot of pieces are zip tied. That prevents it from getting dinged up, scratched up, or any type of damage during shipping. So it came in mint condition, no problems at all when the bike was shipped. After you remove all the foam, packaging, wrapping, and zip ties, you will find that the bike is in a few different pieces. It does come about 90% assembled. So the first thing I assembled was the front tire, and that is very simple by turning the bike on its back, and to place the tire, lining it up with the rotor and the caliper, and making sure the bolts go into the fork notches. After that, all you do is put through the quick secure or quick release rod, tighten it up, and the front wheel is assembled. Very quick and easy, and allows you to remove the front wheel just as easily and quickly. After that was the handlebars, and the handlebars are very similar to on a mountain bike or even on an electric scooter. You do have a few hex screws to remove. All you do is line up the handlebars in the center and tighten them up. Now, I did make a mistake when installing these handlebars. The stem was facing backwards, and not knowing until I checked the manual that's supposed to be facing forward. So initially, I had the stem facing the wrong direction. All I had to do is loosen some screws, turn it around, and now they are installed correctly. After that was the front headlight here, and that was very simple, just one bolt to go through, tighten it up, and you are able to adjust the headlight for the proper orientation. Lastly is the pedals. The pedals do screw in. They are labeled left and right. After you hand tighten them, you use the multi-tool that comes with your little package of goodies to tighten them up. And after that, the bike is fully assembled. From there, I put in 20 pounds of air pressure, which is recommended for these tires, and I gave it a full charge. When the battery's dead, it takes about 6 to 7 hours to fully charge it up. So right now I'd like to go over the components and features of the Hiboy P6. So the standout feature and the thing that grabs your attention is the 26-inch fat tires. These are huge, meaty, beefy tires. Kind of reminds me of a monster truck. You can see compared to my hand how big they are. These are great for a few different reasons because they allow you to have a better cushioned, comfortable ride, but also better stopping power and better gripping power when you are climbing and accelerating. So it's going to have a multitude of uses, but overall it just makes for an overall great look and a more comfortable ride. The other factor that does add to the comfort of the ride right here is your front hydraulic fork suspension. They are adjustable to adjust the stiffness or softness, and so far they've been kind of spot on for where they came from the factory. They have not bottomed out, but they do a great job of absorbing those bumps and bounces. So as we come up here to the handlebars, we do have what I like to call the cockpit. You do have two grips here. They don't feel like anything special. They don't feel bad, but they are, on the harder side, kind of stiff. Your right side, we will have your twist throttle here. Front and back, mechanical disc brakes. On the left-hand side here, you do have two buttons. You have a dedicated headlight button and a horn button. And it's actually a pretty loud horn. Next to that, you do have your control module. It's a 3-button design. You have a power button, long press to turn it on. You do have plus and minus to go through the different pedal assist modes. You can also go between odometer and trip and voltage. On the right-hand side below your throttle, you will have your 2-button Shimano shifter for your 9-speed transmission. It does have the indicator there, 1 through 9. So whether you're cruising on the flats or doing some hill climbing, you have plenty of choices to choose from to get the right gear. So in the back here, you do have your derailleur with your adjustable barrel knob to adjust the sensitivity of it. And inside here is the power source, which is the Beifeng 750 watt motor. It's a rear hub motor, and 750 watts provides you plenty of power to get where you're going. Right here is the heart and soul of the bike, and this is the battery compartment. This is a 48-volt battery system, and it actually has a button indicator to light up to show you if the battery is charged up or not. It has red, green, or blue. Blue is fully charged, so it's a quick one tap to see what the status is of the battery. So as mentioned, it does come with a pair of keys, and they are for the battery compartment. You put them in there, twist it, pops off the battery, and that allows you to bring the battery to your charger instead of bringing your whole entire bike. It allows you to also have a kind of a security feature where people just can't hop on and accelerate away. But for charging it, it makes it really convenient. With how large the bike is, you don't have to physically bring the bike to the charger. You could just bring the battery, and also you could buy yourself a spare battery, carry it in your backpack, and you'll be able to get twice the range. So right now we're gonna hop on, take it for a ride, but make sure you continue watching to the end, because by the end of the video, I'm gonna share my thoughts, both good and not so good, regarding the P6 e-bike. So after riding the P6 for a few days, I can say a few things about it right off the bat. It feels really well made. It doesn't feel like it's cheaply constructed. It feels really safe and secure, and I honestly feel like I could tackle any obstacle. Now we're obviously riding on a nice smooth trail here. This is a rail trail, and it makes for a nice, smooth, comfortable ride. But I have tested on some uneven surfaces and some off-road areas, which you will see in just a little bit. But it honestly feels like I could do anything on this bike. And you know, the way they constructed it, it just feels like a fantastic 2-wheel beast to ride and go anywhere you want. Now, I have to say it takes some getting used to the pedal assist mode, because I've never ridden an e-bike before prior to having this bike. But within a half an hour, I pretty much had it under control, and it just felt like such a joy to ride. It's so fun because you could either, you know, put it on mode 0 for no assist and pedal like a regular bike. You could go 1 through 5, or 1 is minimum assistance, 5 is maximum assistance. And it'll allow you to adjust how much you want to pedal, how much effort you want to put in. Or you could just twist the throttle and ride it like a motorcycle like this, which is really fun. I do have to say that. Now for the front and rear mechanical disc brakes, they do a sufficient job of stopping it, but they do require some adjustment to get them kind of fine-tuned. I'm going to touch more on that a little bit later on at the end of the video, but so far I haven't really come across any major flaws other than just getting used to it. But as we're riding, and I'll bring you on board in just a moment, you'll notice too that there's a delay when it comes to the motor. So a little bit of a delay when it starts to engage, which is, I think, pretty common. But when you stop pedaling, it does stay engaged for an additional second or two. So you have to keep that in mind if you're coming up on an object or someone or something where you need to stop. It's going to propel you for an additional second or two when you do stop pedaling, or even when you do let off the throttle. I would like to give a quick comparison regarding this bike compared to my electric scooters. I have some things I've noticed upon riding this bike and from owning the scooters. So first off is going to be portability. Scooters, hand down, are much more portable. The stems fold down, they're lighter weight, smaller overall design, and it can fit 3 scooters in the back of my car, where this bike is a really, really large bike, takes up a lot of room. I can't fit this in the back of my car unless I do remove the front wheel. So unless you have a large SUV or a truck, it's gonna be a little bit more troublesome to transport and travel with this bike compared to electric scooters. So when it comes to portability and traveling, scooters do win hands down. So the second thing I noticed is gonna be what happens when the battery dies. Well, on a scooter, most scooters, the batteries are in a sealed compartment. When the battery dies, you can't really remove it and swap it out with another battery. So when a battery dies on a scooter, you are pretty much forced to walk it back to wherever you started from. Where on this bike, or any e-bike, you could just pedal when the battery dies and pedal like a traditional bike and still have a mode of transportation without having to walk and push it. So when it comes to battery dying and being able to keep going, e-bike is definitely going to win in that area. Next is going to be versatility. Most scooters, at least the ones I own, are more or less commuter scooters. They're made for hard, packed surfaces like this trail here, pavement, concrete, even crushed stone that's really packed down is where the scooters do shine. Now they do sell off-road scooters, but they do cost a bit more money because you are paying for better components, you know, heavier suspension, off-road tires. Where with this bike, the way it comes right out of the box, I could take it almost anywhere. I could take it on a paved trail like this. I could take it in a few inches of snow because of these fat tires, mud, sand, rocks, off-road, on-road. I could take this bike anywhere without having to make any modifications to it. So when it comes to versatility, the e-bike does win hands down compared to a scooter. The last thing I just want to say is the price point. E-bikes, and it's one of the things I mentioned, is that e-bikes are traditionally more expensive, especially better, higher end bikes. The scooters I have purchased myself come in under $1,000, and the ones I've even reviewed top out at just around $1,000. So the scooters definitely do have a better advantage when it comes to affordability. And that's something to keep in mind when making a decision is, should you get an e-bike? Should you get a scooter? It does depend on your budget. Also depends on what you're gonna be using it for. But like I said, with versatility, I think this is gonna be a clear winner just because with the scooter, you gotta think ahead of time. Where am I going? What's the terrain like? What's the range I'm gonna get? Where on the bike, none of that is a consideration other than how am I gonna get the bike there? So I have you on board here with me and just wanna go over something really quick. So right now I'm on pedal assist 1. Whether you have it in 1 or 5, you do get the same acceleration. So it doesn't matter, it's not gonna go any faster in mode 5 or compared to 1 when you're just using the throttle. So just for demonstration purposes, I have it in mode 1. And we're gonna do a 0 at the top speed with just the twist throttle. I'm not gonna do any pedaling at all. So let's do that right now. Okay, I got it throttle twisted all the way. We're at 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Looks like it's maxed out at 22.1 miles per hour. And the motor is restricting it from going any faster. It's kind of holding it back. But if I do hit a little bit of an incline, it does give it more power, but still tops out at 22 miles per hour with just the twist throttle. And there's both brakes applied at the same time. Brought me to a nice safe stop. So now we're gonna do top speed with pedal assist. So I'm gonna get going here, pedaling, and the motor's gonna start engaging. There it goes. I'm gonna go up to mode 2, mode 3, mode 4, and mode 5. I'm gonna put it in 9th gear, and I'm gonna keep pedaling. I'm still applying force to it. We're at 20 miles an hour, 21, 22, 22.3 is the top speed, even with pedaling. If I pedal harder, it actually pushes it back. It won't allow me to go any faster than 22, even when I'm pedaling. But then right here, I can give it a throttle and just coast and ride it like a motorcycle, which is so fun to do. Now downhill here, the motor disengaged. I'm coasting at this point at 24 miles per hour, so it is capable of going faster if you do take off the throttle and are going downhill. So I do have to say that riding this with just the twist throttle like a motorcycle is probably my most enjoyable way to ride. Obviously, you're getting no exercise doing that, but it's just a joy and a pleasure to be able to kind of just twist and go. Another feature I noticed too, not sure if it's common on all e-bikes, but it is on the P6s, where you're pedaling like this. I'm in mode 2. If you feel like you're not getting enough assistance from the motor, while you're pedaling, you could twist the throttle and give yourself more power to climb a hill or obstacle. So up here, there's a pretty steep hill. I'm gonna do this one-handed. I'm in gear 5, mode 2. We're starting to climb right now, and I'm having to put in a bit more effort. Motor's helping, but not a whole lot. But instead of switching to mode 3 or 4, I could actually just give it throttle and pedal, and now I'm having more juice to climb this hill one-handed. Pretty steep right here, you can see behind me. But that is a great feature that if you don't want to switch to your pedal assist mode, just twist the throttle as you pedal. It'll give you all the power that you need. Well, that was a fun ride, but right now I'd like to share with you some good and not so good things I've discovered about the Hiboy P6 e-bike. So I'm gonna start with the not so good and we'll end on a good note. So a few things I have noticed after riding it for a few days and owning it for a couple weeks now is that number one, the finish on this bike, although it looks really great, it's really susceptible to fingerprints and scratches and scuffs. So if you are to travel with this bike, you have to be aware that if this was to fall against something or something rubs against this, you can easily scratch the finish. It's gonna leave a scuff, scrape, or scratch on it. The next thing I'm not a fan of is the grips. Now the grips, as I mentioned, you know, they are fine, but for me, my hands actually get uncomfortable on them after a while. Anything more than 30 minutes, my hands almost starting to cramp up. The grips are really hard. It's like a hard plastic. They're not rubber or soft or have any give to them really. So although they are sufficient, I think I just need to get used to it. But the grips though, I wish were softer, a little bit more forgiveness to them. The other big thing I noticed is the brake system. Now, as I mentioned, it has front and rear mechanical disc brakes. They do a sufficient job of stopping the bike, but upon getting the bike and assembling it, I've had issues with the front brake where it's making a rubbing sound. And I've worked on it for nearly an hour to try to get it adjusted with the caliper, with the brake shoe, and no matter what I do, I can't get it to go completely silent. I don't know if something's bent or out of whack or something like that. It doesn't affect the performance of the ride, but I hear it and it does bother me a little bit. Back brakes are completely fine, but for the price point of this bike, I like to see hydraulic brakes on it. With mechanical disc brakes, you're gonna have to adjust them from time to time. And as they get worn in, I'm sure it's gonna, need some adjustment or make some noises here and there, but they are sufficient for stopping the bike. Now, for the pros, for the things I love about it, number one has to be the removable battery. That is such a great feature. I do know other bikes do have that. Some don't, but this one definitely does. And it makes it so easy because if you have a charging station or charging wall, instead of having to take the whole bike to that area, I can leave the bike anywhere I want, just pop out the battery and charge it up. As mentioned too, for a few $100s, you can buy a spare battery, carry it in your backpack, and you'll get twice the range. That leads me to my next point, is the range on this bike. Estimated range is 60 miles. Now, like other e-bikes and scooters, it's going to be dependent on the rider and the terrain and how much of pedal assist you're using. So if you're using minimal pedal assist, you're a lightweight rider, flat terrain, you can easily see closer to that 60-mile range. If you're just whiskey throttling it like I do, riding it like a motorcycle, and you're a heavier rider, you're going to see probably closer to 30 to 40 miles. But with that being said, one of the pros I mentioned about compared to scooters is that when the battery goes dead, you can still pedal and get where you're going. So range is not really an issue. It's just how much you want to put into the effort of pedaling and propelling yourself wherever you're going. And the last great thing I love about this bike is that it is so versatile. I could take this anywhere, whether it's a paved trail, a dirt trail, sand, snow, stone, anything like that, even through water. It is capable of handling it. I feel like I could take on almost anything with this bike, get there safely, securely, and I don't think I'm gonna have any issues at all. Lastly, I'd like to thank Hiboy for sending this out to me for review. I wanna say that this has actually changed my opinion on e-bikes, because although I had some concerns about owning one, this is opening up a whole new world of possibilities, and I have a lot of exciting plans for this bike. So you're definitely gonna see it in the future with some adventures, and it's gonna allow me to get to further locations much quicker and in much more enjoyable ways. So this e-bike is definitely gonna be a keeper for me, and I'm so thankful I had the opportunity to share it with you guys. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below. If you would like to get more information or the price on this bike, down in the description and pinned comment, you will find links to the websites where you can find out everything you need to know about the Hiboy P6 Fat Tire e-bike. With that being said, thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. And until next time, everyone, I'll see you real soon in the next video.